What was the moment for you that finally made you say, wow, people really are this stupid? I work in info security. That should be reason alone, but here is a good one. My company is very large, maybe 150,000 employees in healthcare sector. So security is tight. We stick to HIPAA, ISO, NIST, CISA, every abbreviated standard and governance body you can think of. We routinely send out fake phishing emails to everyone. Some are terrible, misspelling the company name, nothing but a link and some gibberish, third-grade grammar, and so on. The links usually bring you to a website we host that says, you clicked on a phishing link. If this were a real fish, you would have potentially infected our organization, put patient information at risk, cost us millions, and definitely lost your job. Please visit the HR training page and retake the security training program, or something along those lines. Sometimes, after they click, people will reply to the original phishing email. I think the web page is broken. Here's my username and password so I can sign up for the raffle to meet Taylor Swift. One of them was my boss's boss. Lots of great answers. Here's my anecdotal story. I used to work in a bookstore. A woman comes and asking about the true story of Lord of the Rings. I assumed she meant a biography of J.R.R. Tolkien or a book about how the books/movies were made. No. She goes on to explain that she is looking for history books about the Middle Ages that talk about the elves and dwarves. She is specifically interested in elves because her whole family is tall, and she thinks she might be descended from elves. I very politely explained to her that the book is fictional, aka not true, and that it calls it Middle Earth, not Middle Ages. The books are shelved in the fantasy section because they aren't true. She was visibly taken aback and had tears in her eyes as she left the store. I'm not sure if she was sad that it wasn't true or because she wasn't an elf. That person drove to my store. Someone gave her a driver's license and a job and money. There's a tweet from a national park talking about people complaining how hard the trash cans are to open that read. There's considerable overlap between our park's smartest bears and our park's dumbest tourists. Coworker had maxed out her credit card and didn't know how to be able to use it again. I asked her if she was just making the minimum payment, and she said, "What payment?" She didn't know she had to pay back the money she used on the card. Just thought it was free money. There was a book I got on a trip across the U.S. when we stopped to see the Grand Canyon called Death in the Canyon. I spent the rest of the trip reading it, learning all the ways you could die in this place. Number one cause of death in the Grand Canyon is men pissing off the side, then getting vertigo, and plummeting to their death. I was working at a dark sky park, and a woman asked me if the statues on the self-guided nature hike had RFID. I said no, and she started gushing about how nice it was to find a place she wasn't exposed to cell service or power lines, because she is allergic to them. They give her migraines apparently. She needs to be really far away from cell towers or power stations, or she suffers miserably. I didn't have the heart to tell her we were about a quarter mile from a small power station. She just couldn't see it, because it was behind the tree line. I had a client I was working with. She was on her third pregnancy. We were on our way to a doctor's appointment, and out of nowhere, she says, "I didn't know having sex could get you pregnant till my second baby." I had to fight for my life, to control my expressions. Because what? I knew someone while pregnant with their third kid, who told another person they couldn't get pregnant unless they'd had an orgasm, because that was the only way you release eggs. The person went, "Oh, okay, I should be fine then." My teenage self had to explain to those two adults how it actually worked. I was donating blood. The nurse asked if I had been out the country during the 80s. I told her I had been to Egypt with the military, but had not left the military base. She then asked if I had ever been to Africa. I said, "Only Egypt." She said, "No, Africa." We went back and forth a couple of times before another nurse cut in and told her that Egypt was a country in Africa. She said no, Africa was its own country. A client tries to purchase a gift card for his wife, and then tried to slide in coupon so that he'd be able to get the gift card cheaper. I told him we couldn't do that, but his wife can stack the gift card and the coupon once she books an appointment. He proceeds to tell me he's worked in retail for X amount of years. Bro, if you worked retail, then you would know that little to no POS system physically allows discounts on a gift card. He insists that he speak with the manager or owner because he says I'm trying to be difficult. Owner was still working on a client, and manager was working from home. Called manager, to which she told me exactly what I already told him. He gets in a puff and leaves taking the coupon back and buying nothing for his wife. Fast forward about 2 weeks later. He comes back in with his wife, who is a sweetheart, watching him to make sure he buys it for her without complication. Dumbass cheapskates, I tell you.